moved to Bedford in 1959 and bought a house on Carlisle Road. Wanting to enter into some of the town activities, I got to know a fellow by the name of John Ahern. And John was a Minuteman in Lexington, but he wanted to start a group in Bedford. So John tried, and finally a group of us got together and decided to form the Bedford Minutemen Company in 1964. And I remember meeting in the schoolhouse, and we were trying to wonder how in the world are we going to finance this group of Minutemen with uniforms and muskets, what have you. So John came up with the idea of putting out a commemorative medal, the Bedford Medal. Well, very few people thought that we would raise enough money by coming out with this medal to finance an organization. And no one really wanted to get involved, so I volunteered, and I said, all right, I'll run the medal project and so forth. So we put together an advertising program, and Senator Brad Morse was involved in our parades in Bedford. And so we asked him one day, we said, Brad, could you get us an appointment with President Nixon? We'd like a little national advertising. So he said, certainly. So he put together an appointment with President Nixon, and John Ahern and I and Bud Chapman went down to Washington and gave President Nixon one of our commemorative medals that we had designed. So this started our national publicity, which went quite well, as a matter of fact. And within, 2 or 3 years, we had raised almost $20,000 by selling these commemorative medals. Everybody in town, we tried to convince to buy a set of 3 of them for $35, and many people did to help the group. After the medal project, that kind of phased out a little bit. We began to come up with other ideas to finance the Minutemen Company, and one of them was the possibility of selling T-shirts with the Bedford flag on it. So I had a firm in Waltham, Mass. Make up a couple of dozen T-shirts, and we sold them quite well. And then we went around to the different motels in Bedford and put up a sign and gave them a stock of T-shirts that they could sell for us. So that went well for a number of years. It was nearing the bicentennial. We had money in the bank, and we decided that maybe we should make an exact replica of the Bedford flag, which was at that time in the library in the safe. So we contacted Scalamandri in New York to come up and look at the flag and see if they could make an exact thread-by-thread duplicate. So they came up and took pictures and looked at the flag, and they said, yeah, we can do it, but it's going to cost about $2,000 or $3,000 per flag. We said, whoops. So there was another project that we had to raise money for, which we did, and they made, I'm trying to remember how many exact duplicates they made. I think they made 5 exact replicas of the flag. And along with that, we made several copies of this exact flag. They were not thread-by-thread duplicates, but they still cost us maybe $200 or $300 a flag, which we sold to people or we gave to people as kind of rewarding in their efforts of promoting the Bedford Minutemen. The bicentennial was coming up. Queen Elizabeth was headed for the United States, and we, as a matter of fact, we went down to Boston to be in their reception committee, and she stopped and shook hands with each one of us Bedford Minutemen as she went by, and we presented her with one of these flags. I became involved in getting muskets for the Minutemen, which we ordered out of Germany or wherever they were being made at the time. I also was involved as the armorer to get the gunpowder. So I would go down to Framingham and get my 15, 16 pounds of gunpowder, which I would store in the basement of my house, and I'm sure the town officials did not enjoy knowing this, because black powder was rather touchy. It could go off. But we needed it for our cannon and our muskets, so somebody had to do it. I was one of the original members. I was the 18th member of the Minutemen. We drew, trying to decide who was going to get #1 medal and #2 medal and #3 medal of the Bedford flag. We put all the names in a hat and we drew them out to see who was going to be #1, #2, #3. And I think I became number 18. So I got medal number 18. My position was cornet in the Minutemen. The cornet carried the Bedford flag. And I really didn't want to become captain, so I enjoyed being the cornet whenever possible. And then I went back into the ranks and just became a rifleman, and somebody else became the cornet. Oh, Bedford Day, we all had a parade, and Memorial Day we had a parade, and Veterans Day we had a parade. And then we'd go to Concord on the 19th of April, and we'd parade in Concord. Gee, that's a lot of parades.